Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Protection Project. My name is Frank George. I am your host, and today we want to speak with you about immigration. We want to talk to you about those immigrants who have come over, both as refugees, as immigrants who have been vetted completely, and then there's illegal aliens who have not been vetted at all and represent a huge danger to American society and to American itself. But perhaps there is no bigger danger to the people of the United States than those who have come in almost as a Trojan horse, who have grown up amongst us, who have shared of everything that we have, who have developed for themselves immense wealth and received everything good that America has to offer. Well, there is such a person that I want to talk to you about. This is the refugee that has destroyed the United States of America. That's right. I actually think that the United States has been destroyed. And that person, ladies and gentlemen, is the man who has been chosen by Joe Biden to be the head of the Department of Homeland Security, a very influential individual who has now allowed millions of people to come into the United States unvetted or properly or improperly vetted, much to the pain of those who are living here. And it's hard to understand why anybody would do such a thing, but Alejandro Mayorkas, who came to the United States at the age of 1, when his parents in 1960 fled communist Cuba and arrived in the United States as refugees. That's how Alejandro Mayorkas came to us. Alejandro Mayorkas is 64 years of age. He grew up in California. He went to school in Beverly Hills. Where that wealth came from, I do not know. He graduated from Beverly Hills High School. He attended school, or rather the University of Berkeley, and one wonders if that might have been a place where he may have been radicalized to some degree. I don't know. And then he, after receiving a Bachelor of Arts degree or some nonsensical thing like that, he went to Loyola Law School and received his degree in law. Well, Alejandro Mayorkas worked as an attorney for a while. Then eventually Dianne Feinstein, the former senator from California, gave him a boost and brought him on board to the federal side of things, where he became a federal prosecutor. And that's how Alejandro Mayorkas made his bones. He is a multimillionaire. How those millions were made, I do not know. And one can only wonder. But Alejandro did wind up working for Obama. And during that time, he implemented Deferred Action Childhood Arrival as soon as Obama had signed that executive order, if that's what it is, which is not even law. This is something that the Supreme Court should have canceled. But, well, we live in the United States where the courts don't work. The politicians don't work for us either. We have lost our nation, and Alejandro Mayorkas is the man who has helped to destroy it. Stay tuned. Dave Gibson, you're going to be discussing with us Mayorkas, his involvement with Deferred Action Childhood Arrival, which was what is it? An executive order by Obama, and not even a law or anything.
It's actually an executive action, not even executive order. It doesn't even rise to the level of that. But they treat it like it's
a law,
a constitutional amendment.
Right. And then Mayorkas, his crowning achievement, I think, has been the CBP One app, where you can, right, from wherever country you're at, if you have the proper kind of phone, which I think will be provided that person by United Nations and non-government organizations, you can just sit there and apply to come into the United States, and you'll get the royal carpet. But, okay, tell us about Mayorkas and the Deferred Action Childhood Arrival situation.
Well, he at the time, he had just become Deputy Director of Homeland Security. And it, of course, was pushed through in a couple of months from the announcement. It was implemented almost immediately. Um, it's supposed to apply to any to those 30 and under, illegal aliens who were 30 and under, who came into this country under the age of 16. Of course, there's no way to prove this or disprove how old they were at the time, and between a certain number of years. All you have to do, they're undocumented. They don't have any documents, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they call them, undocumented,
Mm-hmm.
civil legal aliens. They can just show up and say, yeah, I'm under 30 and I came here when I was 12. Well, I remember the mayor of Boston, after this was implemented, said, I've got guys with sideburns in my junior high schools right now.
I remember
because
that.
of this. It was there. It was basically no verification process. It's impossible to do it, and it applied to many more than was supposed to. Just like every amnesty has.
Mm-hmm.
And this amnesty though, did not require the approval of Congress. It's not a law. It's not even executive order. It's executive action, which is much lower threshold. It's basically like me writing on a legal pad and then signing it. Yep, this is your new law.
Right. Here it is.
And it applied to, we don't even know how many it applied to. It's millions. And the numbers are always sketchy. The details are like always. When someone's stealing from you, they don't give you a lot of scam. The scam artists are usually short on details.
Right, but this is a thing that Mayorkas pushed through
Of
at the
course,
behest of Barack Obama, who has always, to many of us, been someone who's wanted to destroy the United States, and I think he's done a good job.
He did a great job.
He did a great job, particularly choosing Mayorkas. Mayorkas helped to put this thing into practice. That was his big push. That's what he did while he worked for Barack Obama. But then now Barack Obama's out of the picture, and we got Biden, and Mayorkas pushes through this CBP1 app.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
Well, you can download. You're in Guatemala, you're in Venezuela, wherever the hell you are, China. You can download this app to a. Now, one of the things I've noticed when these people come in here, all of them are carrying brand new iPhones.
Yeah.
I've never seen refugees carrying, $2,000 phones. And you can, the shiny and new, not like this hunk of junk I have.
Right. Yeah.
And so they're obviously, you have to, in order to download an app, you have to have a smartphone. Where do they get the smartphones? Well, you and I are paying for them. Mm-hmm. They're distributed in all these countries. There are billboards all over Central America advertising these things, advertising that app, the CBP1 app.
You're kidding me.
No. But George Bush was putting billboards in Mexico, in Central America. This is, when did he leave office? In January of 2009. The early 2000s, mid 2000s, there were billboards throughout Mexico and Central America advertising all the benefits you can get when you come here, mm-hmm. like food stamps. Mm-hmm. Billboards in Mexico talking about WIC checks.
Yes.
And food stamps. Well, they've done the same thing there. Just now it's technology is advanced.
Yeah.
They go on the app, they download the app, takes a couple minutes. Mm-hmm. They put their information in. It's very, very cursory. There's not reams of documents like there used to be to come here. Mm-hmm. They put their information in. Now they don't even have to go to the border. What this allows you to do, the United States government will fly you from your home country into the United States. And according to The University of Texas, a University of Texas study done in June of 2023, reported that app, the CBP-1 app, is used and successfully used to gain entry to this country. This was June of 2023. It's higher now, 1,450 times a day.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
so multiply that, extrapolate that out to 365 days a year. And of course it increases. It's been increasing since the better this app gets. And that's how you see these planes like Springfield, Ohio.
right. Yes.
All overnight, and apparently over a period of about 3 months, 20,000 Haitians showed up in a town of 60,000 residents. And that's Springfield, Ohio. They increased the population by 25%, basically overnight. They all used the app. That's how they got there. They landed in an airport, and then they get on those buses we've seen, and start bringing them.
This is amazing that nobody is pushing the kind of crime that is being committed by Mayorkas, who's guilty of treason. Biden and Harris, both guilty of treason, using our money this way to our detriment in the middle of the night, hiding it from us in plain sight. I can't believe it. You know, this guy Mayorkas, he is a Cuban refugee. He came here at 1 year of age.
Yeah.
And it appears that he pays back the people of the United States through treason and by siding with every kind of refugee or illegal that he can find, and not at all with the American people. There's, you know, this is wrong on so many levels. And it really bothers me that nobody in government does anything about this guy. It's all a big joke, I guess.
Well, he's been brought before Congress, I think, more times than Fauci.
He laughs at them and they'll let them go. They don't do anything about it. They're part of the problem.
The Republicans hold a Soviet-style show trial. And, you know, all these gotcha questions.
Yeah.
But he's never charged with anything.
No.
He never loses his job.
No.
He doesn't lose his pension.
No.
There's no consequence.
But people in the United States are losing their jobs. They're losing their lives. It's you know, this is treason on such a large scale, including the Congress.
The government's own figures show that the feds have released at least 13,000 murderers into this country, 11,000 rapists and child molesters into this country. Now, that's a very conservative, because the government tells you a figure, multiply it times 10.
Yeah, because
and you might be close.
There's a lie. Well, Dave, tell you what, I got to bounce, but thank you. I'm really, really upset, angered by this. And so should everybody else. You know, this is no. All right, Dave.
We don't have a country anymore, pal.
No, we don't. We don't. And
we have no border. We have no country.
No, I would like to discuss that in the very near future with you. All right. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Frank.
It has been established that Mayorkas has brought in a whole lot of folks that ordinarily would not be here. They haven't been even properly vetted or anything. Among the groups of people that have come, well, you have your average illegal alien who wants to make a better life for him or herself. So many have preceded them that, okay, more will come. You have terrorists, hardcore terrorists, of which there are many in this country already. The FBI has admitted to that. Okay. And then you have your organized crime gang members like Tren de Aragua or something like that from Venezuela. You know, people in Aurora, Colorado and Denver, Colorado have gotten to know them quite well as they have muscled their way into the lives of other folks, taking over apartment buildings and such. in a number of states. New York City, they are practicing different kinds of crimes, and none of that is a surprise to anybody that's been watching what Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Alejandro Mayorkas, what they've allowed. It's not surprising. There's just no real vetting going on. Now, Congress has weighed in on the matter, and there had been an attempted impeachment of Mayorkas, and I don't assume, I wonder if had he been impeached, would he have gone then on to be tried criminally, which is what should have happened, for the crimes that he has committed against the American people, the abuses that he has indulged in, which have resulted in death, rape, all kinds of stuff, extortion, you name it. People losing their jobs, people feeling strange in their own towns and unsafe. All of this has been accomplished through Alejandro Mayorkas, who should have, by the way, it was his duty to say, no, I'm not going to do this, and spoken to the American people about how the Biden administration has a plan to just let everybody in. And let's hear from two people. One is Chuck Schumer, the senator who is the head of the Senate. And the other one will be our representative here from Wyoming, Harriet Hagman. Now, I got to tell you, I don't like Chuck Schumer. I think he's a piece of crap. Just listen to what he says, and you'll understand where I'm coming from. Harriet Hagman, I think she's fantastic, and you will have to hear what she has to say about Mayorkas and our situation with him.
The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
This guy, Chuck Schumer, is so disgusting. What a fraud. He's been in government all his life. I think he worked as an attorney for 1 year or something, like quite a number of others, then made his political career. And he's been there forever, disconnected from reality. And you heard what he had to say, that, the only way America is going to be really a neat place to be at is if they provide another amnesty. By the way, there have been about 6 or 7 amnesties already throughout the many years for people who are here illegally. But he wants to have another one and include everybody that's here. And I guarantee you, they're not 11 or 12 million. They're probably 60 or 80 million illegal aliens in this country. And Chucky Schumer would make them all regular immigrants. They didn't break the law. It's okay that they're here, and if they came from China and they're with the Chinese military, that's okay. And if they came in from the Middle East and they're terrorists, that's all right too. And why, golly, I mean, let's just make them all, legal. And no more illegal status. You can have all your terrorists and everybody that came in and all the people that escaped prison from different countries. They'll just walk the streets, even as they are now, but with an assuredness that not much will happen to them if they are legalized. And not that anything happens to them now. Absolutely nothing. They are just excluded from certain aspects of our society, and yet they participate in everything. So, okay, the House of Representatives, Congress has had Mayorkas before them on many, many different occasions. And all that happens is that he lies and he practically laughs at them. And then he goes back to his job of destroying America, and nobody stops him. What this means is you can't trust Congress. You can't trust the 3 branches of American government: executive, legislative, judicial. None of them are doing a damn thing for us to save us from the horrors that have been unleashed upon us. This is my representative here in Wyoming, Harriet Hagman, and I do think she is fantastic. Listen to this.
You know, we had Mayorkas in front of the Judiciary Committee, and I don't think that I have met with a more dishonest person than Mayorkas. He lied for hour after hour after hour as to what was going on the border, which is one of the reasons that we impeached him. The American people want us to hold him accountable, and they want to see this move forward. I am hoping that the Senate will take it up, give a legitimate hearing, and we can present to the American people what this man has done in violating our laws.
Well, I think you can see why we're very proud of Harriet Hagman, and she, of course, herself is an attorney, and she stated that Mayorkas just sat there and lied, which is what I've seen him do over and over every time there's a session of Congress that he attends and that we get to see. And he's always lying. He's practically laughing at Congress. He must feel very secure. Somebody is providing for him some kind of security as to not being able to be tried for the crimes he has committed. Mayorkas has unleashed a crime wave on the United States of America. He has unleashed terrorism. They're just waiting. They're biding their time. The terrorists are before they do something here. That's subject of discussion between the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Central Intelligence Agency, other government folks, and just plain old smart people that know what's happening in our country. So Mayorkas really does belong in prison, or I think he's committed treason, and the penalty for that is death. And I think he should pay it, and I'll tell you why. Because he's created a lot of victims. Let me introduce you to some of the people that Mayorkas has helped to murder. Our first victim that we're going to look at is Laken Riley. Riley was a 22-year-old nursing student at Augusta University in Athens, Georgia, who had previously attended the University of Georgia as an undergraduate. She was an active member of Alpha Chi Omega sorority. On February 22, 2024, Riley went for a morning run at University of Georgia. During her attack, Riley's phone called 911. Riley was attacked and killed between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., according to the warrants. At 12:07 p.m., Riley's roommate reported her disappearance after she did not return to the UGA police. At 12:38 p.m., Riley's body was discovered by UGA police in Oconee Forest Park behind Lake Herrick. Her death was caused by blunt force trauma and asphyxiation. According to Athens Clarke County Coroner, UGA police described Riley's killing as a crime of opportunity and reported that the killer appeared to have acted alone. There had not been a murder in the university since 1983. The suspect, a 26-year-old Venezuelan Jose Antonio Ibarra, who had entered the United States illegally in September 2022, crossing the U.S.'s southern border with Mexico near El Paso, Texas, according to Jeffrey Clark, the chief UGA police. He lived in an apartment complex about 1 mile from the wooded area where Riley's body was found. He had been previously arrested by both federal and state officials in multiple jurisdictions. He had a bench warrant issued for his arrest in December 2023 after failing to appear in court in a shoplifting case in Georgia. In October 2023, the suspect and his brother, who was reported by authorities to be a member of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, who temporarily worked at UGA, were arrested by Athens police on theft charges. Both were released after reportedly possessing stolen merchandise from a local Walmart. So there you go. You know, this guy was not supposed to have been here. This is part of the work that was done by Alejandro Mayorkas, Kamala Harris, who wants to be our president, and Joe Biden. This is on their watch. This is the work that they have done in opening that border and releasing people into this country without properly vetting them. This is on them, and it would have been far better if one of Mayorkas' family members, or that of Kamala Harris or Biden's, had been murdered instead. Then they would have taken this situation seriously. Let's go on to our next victim, made possible by Alejandro Mayorkas, Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden. This is Rachel Morin. She is, or was, 37 years old, had 5 children, and she was murdered in Maryland while she was hiking through a trail last summer. Hartford County Sheriff Jeffrey Galler told reporters that through DNA evidence and tracking, local police and the FBI arrested Victor Antonio Martinez in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in connection with the 2023 killing. Morin, 37, a mother of 5, was found dead on the Ma and Pa Heritage Trail on August 6, 2023, a day after her boyfriend reported her missing after she didn't return home from a hike. The murderer, Martinez Hernandez, 23, will be charged with first-degree murder and first-degree rape when he is extradited to Maryland, Galler said. What's happened here is that Martinez Hernandez allegedly entered the U.S. illegally last year, that would be 2022, from El Salvador, where he was wanted for murdering a woman, according to the sheriff and the FBI. So there you are, another prize from Alejandro Mayorkas, Kamala Harris, who wants to be our president, and Joe Biden, who pretends to be our president. Agnes Gibney, how are you?
I'm doing great, Frank. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Hey, thank you for taking time to visit with the little people, because we do see you in Fox and other such big shows. And, you do a tremendous job of representing those of us who have been harmed by illegal immigration. And I would say that's 90% of America, even if they don't know it. And if you would, please, I know that your son was murdered by an illegal. He was not the intended victim. Your son died because he got in the way of a bullet intended for a friend. Is that correct?
Actually, my son pushed his friend out of the way to save him, and he ended up getting the bullet.
Oh, my God. That's there's somebody that had a true friend, and that's for sure. Your son was, 29 years of age at the time?
Correct.
So this was in 2002, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. We have all of that down, but prior to what happened to you, there were many others who suffered the same fate of losing someone. Angie Morphine, for example, was one of the very, very first. I know that you know her. And
Yes.
that was a gazillion years before this happened to your son, and nothing was ever done to really address the problem. And in your circumstances, you knew illegal immigration existed and all that. Did you ever think you would become a victim?
Never, ever. Number one, I never thought that any crime would ever reach me, especially in this magnitude of having my firstborn and only son murdered. I always thought that things like that just happens in bad areas, in bad neighborhoods, to bad people. Never in a million years I would have thought that that one of my children would fall victim to it.
That is astounding. And in your circumstances, this fellow, as has been the case in many others, he had been before the courts, he had been before the legal system. Had he been previously deported as well?
Yes, he was deported after a long history of criminal encounters, and he's been to jail many, many times. And I eventually was deported in Otay Mesa in San Diego. And he returned, I don't know how soon after he returned, probably immediately, and got arrested for beating somebody, his partner up, I don't know, wife or girlfriend or whoever. Mm-hmm. And he was given 3 years, 3 weeks sentence, and then 3-year probation. But this is where the problem comes in with me, is what in the heck was a judge doing that he, in those days, in 2000, and this judge completely neglected to catch the fact that he had been already deported, and didn't turn him over to ICE or to the Immigration Naturalization Service during that time. And as a result, my son is 6 feet under.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I think I lost a little bit of your audio there, but basically he had been through the system, and been deported, returned, gone through the system again, and he was still there to do evil.
Yes, and the judge didn't do anything about the fact that he had been previously deported. And if that judge would have done his job and turned him over to Immigration Naturalization Service, my son would still be alive today.
There is no doubt about that. I have frequently, pondered that very same thing. One of the big deals here is that local police, whether it be city, town, state, police, are not allowed to address this issue. If they find somebody that's an illegal, they just let them go. It's just like they're another citizen, right?
They can't even ask if you're here legally or not, because they were told to hands down. They can't ask anymore. Like years ago, if there was somebody walking like a cholo on the street, the police was able to pull them over and ask for ID and so forth. And if they were illegals, they got detained. And then if it was a weekend on Monday, they would call ICE or Immigration Services and say, we got so many illegals here, and they would come and pick them up. Not anymore. You can't ask.
And I don't know of a state, of all the 50 states, I do not know of any of the states where police have been tasked with addressing this problem. It's like hands off, which guarantees that there will be many more victims, particularly now. We have Mayorkas is the head, or, they call him the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, but he is the head of that vast organization under which you have FEMA, you have the Secret Service, and you have the Border Patrol, citizenship and naturalization. He has all of it under him. And what he has done is he has opened the border up. He's given instructions to the Border Patrol pretty much to wave these people in. So I would accept that we're going to see a whole lot of murder and a whole lot of crime. We already know about that Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, or whatever that's pronounced, functioning in Texas, Colorado, and I think about 8 other American cities or states. What are your thoughts on what Mayorkas has done?
Well, let me just say this. He ought to be in prison for treason, number one. Dereliction of duty. He is complicit in every murder, every assault, every rape, every violation, anything that illegal aliens or creating new victims. He's complicit. My guess is in about 4 years, there's going to be an enormous number of unsolved crimes based on the number of millions of illegal aliens, unvetted illegal aliens that came in. And for those that do not agree, let me just make clear, I am not against legal immigration. I am against people invading our country who are not vetted, who we don't know who they are, what criminal background they have in their countries, and many times you're fleeing murders in their country to come to the United States. Do you think they're going to do any better here? No, they're going to create more victims here. And Mayorkas, what makes me so mad is the fact that he is a refugee himself. He wasn't born in this country. And this is the trend that I'm seeing. And I don't know if I should say it or not, but I'm going to say it because it's right in here. Mayorkas is not from the United States, but he's advocating for every foreigner to come to the United States, forgetting the citizens of this country. Kamala Harris was born in this country to parents who were not there were students in this country, so they are not vetted. So technically, according to the Constitution, she shouldn't even be vice president or president.
Yes.
Yeah, or vice president. And what is she doing? She's not protecting us citizens of this country. She's protecting illegal aliens. We are being destroyed by foreigners who get into politics and not putting America's interest first. This should be a crime in itself.
Absolutely. And it's most interesting, like you mentioned, Mayorkas came in as a refugee. He was 1 year old. He came from the country of Cuba. You and I are both legal immigrants and are naturalized citizens of the United States. And I would never, if I was the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, the head of that department, I would never do to the American people what Mayorkas has done, because he knows he's destroying this country. It's a fact. I see him when he goes before Congress. He almost laughs at them, and they keep having him come up all the time, and nothing is ever done. This guy has committed some really serious crimes, has actually committed treason, and he belongs on trial for treason, and it's not happening. We're the ones that are getting beat up, right?
Exactly. And what's so infuriating, Frank, is that he laughs, and I oh my gosh, my blood just boils.
Mm-hmm.
Or he plays stupid with that stupid face of his.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't remember that. No. I mean, how can you be in that kind of a position and not remember what orders you're putting out? And let's go back to Trump's first assassination attempt.
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to be in charge of that. He doesn't care. I'm sure he probably would love for President Trump to have been dead.
I think so.
Yeah, and that guy should have been arrested, because he is letting everybody down. Imagine being a border patrol and working at the border, protecting our borders, protecting our countries, their own families, and watching all these riffraff coming into our country who rapes and murders. How many victims do we need for them to open their eyes? How many have we had already? How many don't we know that we have? Because people didn't come forward, or because it's unsolved. One
That's right.
is one too many.
But there have been thousands, and if anything, at this particular point in time, where people are saying that the Biden administration let in between, I don't know, the numbers vary. Some say 10,000, some say, 10 million, some say 20 million, and that's in addition to the millions that are here, which I think is, of course, when the mainstream media says 11 to 12 million, they've been saying that for about 15 or 20 years. It's such a lie. We must have 50 million illegal aliens here, and maybe they added the other 20 million. I don't know. Their number is unknown. But I begin to feel as a citizen as if I don't really matter. Like my only job here is to pay taxes, not receive representation, and that the darlings of the government, particularly the Biden administration, Kamala Harris, Biden, and Mayorkas, are the illegal aliens. They are the important ones. I'm just somebody they take money from. How do you feel?
I feel exactly the same way. We are nothing but cash cows. You just work, pay your taxes, so they can squander and steal our money to give to these illegal aliens who are not vetted, who many of them are criminals, delinquents, they are traffickers, they are drug addicts, they are belongs in cartels. Why are we importing these kind of people into our country? There is a process when you apply for to come legally to the United States. First, a thorough background investigation. Make sure you have no criminal record anywhere. Then if you pass that, then you go to the next step, which is the health care check. Make sure you don't have any health issues that you're going to be a burden to American taxpayers. Well, aren't these millions of illegal aliens here a burden to me, to you, and to every taxpayer? Yes, they are. You go, I just been to the ER this weekend, that, and I'm looking around, and 95% of them are Latinos in there. And I'm not sure if they're here legally or illegally. I don't want to presume that. But I told the nurse, and I said, why are you allowing people with a runny nose to come to the ER? Because they get a card saying they have an emergency card. So they pack the emergency room. And if you have a major issue, you sit and wait.
Yeah, that is amazing. It's another impact on our society. It does impact healthcare and every other aspect of our
And schools and everything.
Yes, schools. So they bring in a whole bunch of kids, and there's not enough room in the schools, so your taxes go up so they can make the school bigger and hire more teachers. And these guys aren't paying their fair share of taxes whatsoever. And you know, we pay a lot of money here. The government really extorts us. They take a lot of money from what we earn, and then you see that they advertise in a foreign country. They have the CBP1 app that these guys have a phone out there overseas, probably given to them by the United Nations, which is funded by us and non-government organizations. And they go on this app, and this is an Alejandro Mayorkas thing. They get to pick a flight, how to get here into this country, and they're shown every courtesy. They're given clothes, they're given money, they're given EBT or debit cards of some kind, and that comes out of you and I, from all that suffering of working and having to pay these taxes. And the Biden administration doesn't even blink an eye at this. I think
he doesn't even know what's going on. Number one, Biden doesn't know. He's in La La Land, and Kamala Harris, all she cares is to be the first woman president. You know, Frank, I really don't care who we have for president. All I want for president is someone who truly loves this country, who will fight, who will shed blood for this country, who will fight for our Constitution, for our First Amendment rights, and who will gain respect throughout the world. Kamala Harris has zero respect here in California, has zero respect. Nobody even knew who the heck she was, being a VP. What did she do? Nothing. Supposedly she was in charge of the border. She was the border czar. What did she do? Nothing. She turned her back on the border patrol, and us citizens from being harmed by these people that come in, these many criminals that came in. And what has she done? Nothing. And the government steals our money, our tax dollars, to give to these other people. How about just stop paying taxes so they won't have any of our money to squander anymore?
I wish we could do that. I wish we could do that.
Or you'd be arrested.
Oh, absolutely. Now, Kamala is a major league stupid type of person. She is an absolutely stupid ass, has no business running anything. She has always, I found out that she's never worked in the public sector. She has always been a civil service type person, getting special jobs from...
Was given the jobs.
Yes.
Was appointed, was given.
Right.
Yes.
By politicians. She's learned how to work that angle. But she was like a last-ditch effort when the Democrat Party, who's now a communist entity in its entirety, I guess, decided to get rid of Joe Biden. I'm not entirely sure for what reason. And so they put this meat puppet up there called Kamala Harris, who, like you said, I quite agree, she's not constitutionally qualified to run for the presidency. Both of her parents, they were foreigners. They're not American born. And so that should disqualify her, but nothing matters anymore. The courts don't work. The cops don't work for us. We are on our own. What do you think should happen? I mean, Kamala is responsible for the carnage and the destruction that we're seeing through illegal immigration, as is Mayorkas. And I would not give Biden a pass either. Do you think that all three of them should see their day in court?
I would hope so. I am not holding my breath, because so far, everything I've seen in Congress, all these special investigations and trials and hearings, a bunch of BS. Nothing ever comes out of it.
Nothing.
Look at Clinton, Hillary Clinton. Why isn't that woman in prison?
She should
destroying over 33,000 emails. And, why isn't that woman charged with something? Nothing. But President Trump, God bless him for having the integrity, the strength, and the values, and the fight and the determination to fight for our country, is being massacred. But you know what? Many of us are going to be standing tall in support of President Trump. And God willing, he will make it into the White House again and clean all this bullshit that, excuse my language, that has been happening throughout the years. because this has got to stop. And let's face it, Kamala is not going to be respected anywhere in the world.
No.
How can anybody that can't even speak, she has to read the teleprompter, and if the teleprompter stops, it is, because she doesn't know what to say. She totally gets lost. How is she going to deal with foreign dignitaries? By laughing herself?
She is a disaster.
Through it? Oh, a disaster.
She's an absolute disaster. And unfortunately, we're voting through a system that in the past has given us phony results. It's like a fake voting system. All these electronic machines, their votes have already been overturned or gone to the wrong candidate in Georgia, I hear. Like some people voted for Trump and it winds up being a vote for Kamala Harris. This is already happening. So for me, it's going to be a miracle if Donald Trump does indeed make it. But, well, miracles do happen, so I'll keep my fingers crossed. Okay, closing words, dear lady. What do you say?
Fight, fight, fight.
I love it.
Just like President Trump is fighting.
I love it. Agnes, thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's now take a look at Alejandro Mayorkas in action, the dirty, bald-headed Cuban, the treacherous refugee who arrived in the United States at age 1 from Cuba, who has made sure that we have no borders and that every terrorist, every rapist, every murderer, every transnational gang can come in here to rape, destroy, loot, make your lives miserable while he's fat and happy. He is a multimillionaire, you know. He made his millions here, probably in some kind of shifty way. That ought to be investigated. But here he is with Ted Cruz kind of aggressively going at him, even though none of that did any good. They tried to impeach him, and then the House did. And then they sent it to the Senate, and Chuck Schumer said, nope, we're going to keep the dirty Cuban.
But at this point, recognize Senator Cruz.
Good morning, Secretary Mayorkas.
Good morning.
Is there a crisis at our southern border?
Senator, there is a very significant...
That's a yes or no question.
There's a very significant...
Is there a crisis?
Senator, there's a very significant challenge...
I think your microphone is not on.
There is a very significant challenge that we are facing.
Yes or no, is there a crisis?
I believe I've addressed that question.
So you're refusing to answer?
Senator, there is a very significant challenge, and
will you answer if there's a crisis?
Therefore, we are dedicating the resources...
Okay, so you're refusing to answer. Well, Secretary Mayorkas, I'll tell you someone who is willing to answer, which is your and President Biden's chief of the Border Patrol in a sworn deposition in July of 2022 when asked, would you agree, Chief Ortiz, that the southern border is currently in crisis? Answer, yes. Notice none of those wiggle words, none of that equivocation. One word, one syllable, yes. Are you willing to speak with the same clarity as Chief Ortiz? Is there a crisis at our southern border, yes or no?
Senator, I'm very proud to work alongside...
So you refuse to answer. Let me ask you the next question. Has the crisis at our southern border made Americans less safe, yes or no?
Senator, we are dedicated to the safety
and security. Has the crisis made Americans less safe? I don't want a discourse. It's a yes or no question.
Senator, we have a challenge of
You refuse to answer the question. Mr. Secretary, let me show you how someone doing his job answers a question in a straightforward manner. Chief Ortiz, is the crisis that is currently ongoing at the southern border making the border less safe for Americans and aliens alike? Answer, yes. One word, one syllable, 3 letters. That's how someone answers a question and does their job. You're being a politician misleading the American people. Let me give you a chance again. Will you show the same integrity Chief Ortiz shows? Is the crisis at the southern border making Americans less safe? Yes or no?
Senator, we have 260,000.
You refuse to answer the question. Let's move on.
And security of the
Next question, Mr. Mayorkas. Has the crisis made aliens less safe? Yes or no?
Senator, we are seeking...
So you won't answer that question either. It's a yes or no. Has it made aliens less safe?
Senator, smugglers are exploiting...
Has the crisis made aliens, less safe? Are you willing to answer it?
Senator, the smuggling organizations...
Okay, you're filibustering again. Let me ask you this question. How many migrants have died under President Biden?
Senator, your phrasing of the question is actually quite misleading.
How many migrants died in 2022?
Approaching our southern border?
Yes.
Precisely why we are seeking to exclude the smuggling
do you know the answer? Do you know how many died?
I do not.
You do not. Of course you don't. I know how many died. 853.
That is
853. And by the way, here are the numbers that have died every year. You go back to 1998, you see it's consistently between 300 and 400, 300, 400, 300, 400. Suddenly, 2021, what happens? You get in office, and that red line are dead bodies. I've been on the Rio Grande, and I've seen dead bodies floating there who've drowned because of your refusal to do your job. You don't even know how many have died. What do you say to the Texas farmers and ranchers who find pregnant ladies dead on their property, who find toddlers dead on their property? What do you say to them?
I say that is why precisely we are taking it to the smuggling organizations.
But you are not. That is simply not true.
Number two, it is why we are dedicated.
Let me read from the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal 2 weeks ago ran an article entitled, "It's like a graveyard. Record numbers of migrants are dying at the border." The story begins with this chilling line, quote, Eagle Pass, Texas. Local officials keep a refrigerated truck to hold the bodies of migrants who drown in the currents of the Rio Grande while trying to cross the border into the U.S. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent that this article be entered into the record. Let me ask you a different question. How many children have been sexually assaulted by human traffickers under the Biden administration?
Senator, this is precisely why we instituted.
I don't want a lecture. It's a question. How many children have been sexually assaulted by human traffickers under your administration?
Senator, this is exactly why on January 5th we announced the parole
Do you know
program.
how many? Do you know how many children have been sexually assaulted?
This is why we.
Okay, you're going to refuse to answer that question as well. Let's move on. It's obvious you've been instructed to stonewall, so I'm not going to let you. You don't get to stonewall and filibuster. Now, one of my Democratic colleagues before said the Democrat talking point, quote, "This problem didn't start under Biden." Look, I get if you're a partisan spinner, you got to figure out something to say about the absolute catastrophe that has played out under the Biden administration. True or false, Secretary Mayorkas, 2020 was the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. Is that true or false?
It is certainly the lowest level of immigration in many, many years. And what was it in 2020? What was it, Senator, in 2020 that impacted the entire world, including the United States?
Okay, so your testimony is the reason we had the lowest rate was COVID. It had nothing to do with building the wall, nothing to do with ending catch and release, nothing to do with Remain in Mexico. With all respect, Mr. Secretary, that answer is laughable. And in fact, if you look at illegal immigration, let's look at CBP encounters. You can see 500,000, 500,000, it drops to the lowest level, and boom, what happens? You show up. And that red line is you. That red line is Joe Biden. And you're claiming nothing happened. Oh, gosh, this was here before us. No, you made the decision to allow this to happen. Let me ask you, we now have over 5.5 million people who've entered this country illegally under Joe Biden. How many murderers have you released into America?
Senator, I'm not aware of any murderer whom we've.
So you don't know.
Senator, let me say something.
Do you know?
If you take a look at.
No, you don't get to give a speech. Do you know how many murderers you've released?
I'm just trying to answer your question.
How many rapists
Senator.
Have you released?
Senator, I'm trying to answer your question.
You can answer, I know or I don't know.
Senator, any individual who poses a public safety threat.
How many child molesters have you released?
And removed into the United States, from the United States.
Oh, so your testimony under oath, subject to perjury, is that you have not released any murderers, rapists, or child molesters among the 5.5 million. Is that your testimony?
Mr. Chairman, may I have the opportunity
No, you may not. You may answer my question.
You're not.
Is that your testimony, yes or no?
Senator, you're not allowing me to answer your question.
I am allowing you to answer. I'm not allowing you to filibuster.
If you take a look at the pace of immigration in 2018 to 2019.
You're refusing to answer. Let's move on. Let's move on to gotaways. Gotaways are the people that get away that you know about. Now, what happened under your administration? Gotaways consistently down at this low line. Boom, you get in. And they go from below 180,000 to 600,000. Now, I'll tell you this about a Godaway. You don't know among those 600,000 a year, you have no idea how many are murderers, correct?
That is precisely why the number of gotaways...
Do you know how many of those are murderers?
That is precisely
why... So you
why...
refuse to answer the question. You know how many are rapists? Do you know how many are rapists? This is a question. You're a lawyer. You know how to answer questions. Of the 600,000, do you know how many of them were rapists?
Senator, this is why
the answer is no. Let me ask you this. Do you know how many of them are terrorists? And I don't want to, Senator, here's my lecture on this. Do you know how many of the 600,000 gotaways were terrorists? Yes or no?
Senator, we are focused on the
You refuse to answer that as well. What's the result of massive gotaways? Well, one of the results is drug overdoses. And we now have, last year, over 100,000 overdoses who died, the majority from Chinese fentanyl streaming across the border. Now, you told Senator Cornyn you care, but look what has happened under your policy. When you open up the border to the worst illegal immigration in our nation's history, people die. You claim you care. Mr. Secretary, that is a lie. You know, some months ago, Karine Jean-Pierre stood up at a White House briefing and said, people are not just walking across the border. Was she telling the truth?
Senator, you are
Was she telling the
so
truth?
profoundly disrespecting.
Was she telling the truth?
22 years
okay,
of government service.
You get to answer questions. You don't get to give speeches.
Senator, I served as a federal prosecutor.
All right, you're refusing
years.
to answer. If you look at, she was lying. And she was not lying on her own. She was lying on behalf of the President of the United States. Now, the photograph of people walking. She was lying on behalf of the President of the United States. This is a photograph from just one day along the Rio Grande of hundreds of thousands of people walking across the border. You have allowed this to happen. The photograph that was before, what are these wristbands?
I don't know what they are.
You don't know what they are. Mr. Secretary, you have just testified to the American people you're incompetent at your job, because I've been to the southern border, and if you go to the southern border, along the southern border, you see thousands of these wristbands because the illegal immigrants wear them. The drug cartels, every color corresponds to how many thousands of dollars they owe the cartels. You have turned these cartels into multi-billion-dollar criminal organizations, and these are modern-day leg irons, because these are children being sold into sex slavery, and you don't even know what they are. That is astonishing. Mr. Secretary, how many children have been sold into sex slavery under your administration?
Senator, we are taking it to the cartels.
How many children have been sold into sex slavery? Do you know how many children have been sold into sex slavery?
To an unprecedented degree.
Mr. Secretary, I want to say to you right now, your behavior is disgraceful, and the deaths, the children assaulted, the children raped, they are at your feet, and if you had integrity, you would resign. And I will tell you, the men and women of the Border Patrol, they've never had a political leader undermine them. They despise you, Mr. Secretary, because you're willing to let children be raped to follow political orders. This is a crisis. It's a disgrace. And you won't even admit this human tragedy is a crisis.
Claiming 1 minute chairman time, Mr. Secretary, would you like to respond to any of those questions?
What the senator said was revolting. I'm not going to address it.
Your refusal to do your job is revolting.
There you go. You got to see the bald-headed treasonous Cuban in action. I'm talking, of course, about Alejandro Mayorkas. Now, what's very interesting here is that I myself am Cuban-born. Alejandro Mayorkas is Cuban-born. And Senator Ted Cruz, God bless him, was born in Canada, but his father is a Cuban-born man. And what can anybody say about this? Alejandro Mayorkas lies all the time. He is an instrument of destruction. He is part of the cabal that is restructuring the United States of America, making it subordinate to some kind of world government, I guess. I guess that's what's going on. But before they do that, they absolutely have to decimate this country, destroy it, destroy its population, destroy its culture. You know, one of the things I think of is that in warfare, say in World War II, airplanes would go out and they would bomb the enemy. hundreds and hundreds of bombs destroying a town, a city, whatever it is, civilians being killed, a culture being wiped out. I don't see illegal immigration as being any different. They come in by the millions, they occupy an area, and they wipe out the local culture, replacing it with their own. I see illegal immigration as being a form of warfare, and the people that enable this to happen, they see it that way as well. They want to bring about change, and this change, well, it entails the death of American culture and the substitution of American citizens with people that have got no idea what American culture is to begin with. And so it is that Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and Alejandro Mayorkas, under the watchful eye of a willing Congress, destroy this country, and we are not allowed to do anything about it, or we will get into trouble. We will, for defending our country, defending our culture, defending our town. You're not allowed to do anything. There's not a cop in the United States that can pick up an illegal for being here illegally, as they should be able to do, and hand them over to some agency that would deport them right away, thereby saving lives, saving jobs for American citizens, and saving our culture. Look, our government, as it stands now, it hates us. And the people that run government, they're a bunch of degenerates who hide in the shadows but have so much money that they can bankroll a politician like Joe Biden, Alejandro Mayorkas, Kamala Harris to do their bidding. It's all about cash and power, folks. That's all that there is to that. Thank you for listening. My name is Frank George. We'll see what this election will bring us. November 5th, do remember to vote. And by all means, vote for Donald Trump. Don't vote for these imposters, these saboteurs of our lives and our country. Don't give them the power to keep on destroying us. And I don't know how we are going to succeed in bringing Donald Trump in, because we are voting through the same corrupt system that gave us Joe Biden to begin with. Machines that change votes, ballots being dropped off in the early morning hours, everything and anything to steal an election. Okay, we will see what happens. Thank you for listening. Have a good one. Bye-bye.